Welcome back, everybody, to Paintball Live, PbLive.tv. We are on live with Jeff Gallatin from TraumaHead Sportz. Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Good, man. How's all the PbLive crew doing?
Woo woo. We're doing pretty darn good, man. Now, Jeff, you have managed to do what a lot of people haven't in this sport, which is get the frickin' thing on TV, man. Congratulations to that, you know. First of all, congratulations to TraumaHead, of course. We're just saying for being in and around in this freaking crazy up-down sport for 13 years. Yeah, represent baby. But we'll talk a little bit about, those of you guys who've been living with your head firmly tucked between the buttocks of some large fat woman. Where did TraumaHead come from? And tell us a little bit of history about it, first of all, before we get into the newest and greatest that you guys are doing right now.
All right. Well, we actually started playing in about 1996. Of course, fell in love with the sport, just like every other paintballer does, and said, my God, why is this not being filmed? How come paintball is not a household word, and what can we do to make it that way? We had, prior to that, been shooting a lot of skateboard competitions for fanzines and things like that, so why not do that for paintball? And, like I say, one thing led to another. We started off on a little cable channel in Raleigh, North Carolina, back in the day. Blew up into 3 states, and next thing you know, we went nationwide. So, yeah, it's been a pretty good run.
That is absolutely bitchin'. Now, you guys have the beautiful distinction of being on the channel called In-Country Television. So tell us about what it took. Have you just tried to shop this out to everyone, or did you have some inroads there already? Or because people have tried. I mean, I've seen some beautiful stuff, with people trying to push either just the sport itself, individual tournaments or shows or whatever, and then people in the industry itself seem to just be completely turned off by the sport of paintball. You say, millions of people are playing, all this money's going in, all this exposure would be good, and they go, no, we're going to go with poker instead. What did you do that managed to get you in, or you just don't effing know and you just thank God every day?
Persistence, man. Just plain outright persistence. We worked many shows, probably more paintball TV productions than anybody in the history. We were involved with the WGN, Milt calling his UAPL. We were involved with the Miami Super 7. That got great ratings. We just try to stay. We went from doing, the #1 DVD series into, we tried to push it further into the TV market, and with other people's money or with our own money, it doesn't really matter. And like I say, just trying to make paintball a household name, not so much TraumaHead, and definitely not Jeff Gallatin, but definitely paintball. And trying to do the right thing, it seems like has been kind of worked out for us.
That's beautiful. People are giving me crap for that earlier, using that adjective a lot. But too bad. That was beautiful, and you deserve that beautiful, so take it and run with it. That's a big transition coming from skating straight into paintball. When I've talked to other photographers or people in the media of this sport, it's really difficult to try and film paintball versus any other sport or any other thing, because in any other sport you have one ball normally going back and forth on a field, and if you just follow the ball, that's where everybody's focus will go. Where in paintball, in 10 minutes or so, you'll have 2,000 plus balls all over the field. How do you film that? First, knowing where to position people, and then having multiple cameras, how do you edit that thing together to make it any sort of sense to someone who doesn't know the sport itself?
Yeah, it's really tough, man. And like you just said, skateboarding or freestyle motocross, all those things are individual dudes doing individual tricks. They're visually, spectacular. Paintball and X-ball in particular, or whatever they call it nowadays, you've got so much going on, 5-on-5 or 7-on-7, and regardless if you had 110 cameras, man, so much stuff happens simultaneously. It's really, really hard for an editor to try to, tell the story of that game to an actual viewer. And I don't know. There's several things that paintball definitely kind of could use as far as having a TV-friendly event and filming other people's events. And God knows I love the NPPL. I mean, I love a lot of the damn leagues and the promoters and the people that really try to push the sport forward. But probably the best thing for us would be to go back to having a made-for-TV event where we control the environment. We're not really worried about, teams trying to crush each other for first place. We're worried about teams that are going to have good games and TV-friendly games. The refs aren't stepping in front of the cameras, and people are shooting different shelled balls instead of the darker shelled balls. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that we have in mind that just hasn't been done really yet for paintball on TV. Let me put it that way. And, we'll see what's up. We've got some really good sponsors and people behind us. I mean, Ron Goldblatt from Tippmann and a bunch of potential non-endemic, big sponsors. We're talking, there's some interesting stuff going on with Nike. There's some interesting stuff going on with Frito-Lay. There's interesting stuff going on with U.S. Army. So paintball could be much bigger than it is right now. And unfortunately, sometimes the homeboy, paintball has got its own set of politics, and it's a difficult set of circumstances to overcome. So players have always been our number one sponsor, and that's who we try to please.
It is. It's very difficult. I mean, you're talking about, people are losing their S over 50 caliber and changing the size of a paintball that you're going to shoot out of your marker. Can you just imagine everybody that's really freaked out about the NPPL going bust or PSP or changing the position of a frickin' X or an Aztec or whatever and going, you know what? That was okay for the beginning of the 90s. Let's just redo tournaments again, really lock it down tight and make it a lot more spectator friendly. That would take a huge push throughout the entire industry. Do you think something like that would be possible, or something like that just has to be possible? It doesn't matter. It has to be done. Otherwise, why half-ass it the way we have been?
In my opinion, I think the hardest thing about filming paintball, and especially for the viewer, is seeing the balls. It has to be done. It's possible. It can be done. Definitely with 68 caliber, I haven't seen, or we haven't conducted any kind of test or surveys to check out how the 50 caliber ball shoots from the gun, but I would imagine with a smaller ball it would probably be more difficult for the viewer to see. I just think that the state of paintball, paintball growing the way it had been for 20% per year, all the way up to 05, it seems a little crazy to me, and I think this is the most controversial question of the off season. Going from 68 to 50 caliber in a time when paintball is just struggling to maintain its typical growth kind of seems like, I don't know, it seems crazy to me, but I could be wrong.
Well, you definitely have been able to step back. When we're talking to one of our advertisers is Gary Baum from Paintball Photography, and he says he's able to really see the sport from a different angle, even coming from a player's perspective. When he comes on the field as a player, he looks at everything different than he comes on with a camera, because you're behind and you're stepped away from everything else. You've got no vested interest in what's going on. You're not a coach. You're not a player. You're not whatever. You're just out there looking at the broader picture. And if you just think, well, that's just my opinion, dude, I say it's a very valid opinion, because you have the background and you also have the goods to go and show it off. And we have got a great question here on the boards. Pitbully said, you guys seem to have the most exciting games, as well as a sincere rapport with the best players. The sport seems to be growing at a fantastic rate. Where do you see paintball as a professional sport in upcoming years? You touched on that a little bit, but aside from pie in the sky, where do you realistically see the sport being in, we want to do this generic, your 3, 5, 10-year ideas? We're going to have hover cars in there?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. Like I say, we have interesting concepts that would make paintball more viewer-friendly to a TV audience.